Awesome. We're live. This is Chris Badgett from LifterLMS, a WordPress learning management system plugin that makes it easy to create, sell, and protect online courses. And you get to own your own content. You get to do it on your own WordPress website without a bunch of Frankenstein of plugins. And we're really just focused on serving the education entrepreneur. In that light, we've got Tony here. And Tony's a marketing and messaging guy, and we really want to dive into a certain half of the online course creators experience. There's really two big things. One is impact and one is income. If your course doesn't have a lot of impact, or the problem you're trying to solve doesn't have impact, you're going to have a hard time. If you don't focus on the income and building a real business around it and crafting good messaging and marketing, you may have great ideas and great course content, but you might struggle to sell or get that material out there into the world. So this is a live teardown. We're going to have someone come on the show soon, and we're going to kind of critique how they're trying to sell their course. But I want to introduce you to Tony over here, and Tony, tell us what you're all about, what you're here for.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, so along with how you are here to serve the education entrepreneur, I feel most empowered and alive when I'm helping people that are trying to change the world for the better. Most of those people I've come to find is they're not necessarily students of business strategy, sales, or marketing. And so I try and supplement the work that they're doing by giving them sound theory and practical advice as they do what it is that they're doing. So, today the goal is to hopefully help the LifterLMS community or anyone in learning management or e-learning or just selling anything, trying to build anything, by giving not only sound theory in terms of sales and what you want to do to psychologically align the customer, we'll use the word customer, but also practically what can you change or what can you implement into your sales practices that should move the dial needle.
That's awesome. I can totally relate to that, Tony. Just a small soundbite of my backstory. I was in college. I was really focused on social science, anthropology, sociology. I was traveling a lot. I was really into the impact piece, changing the world. And I had to take like one elective. I took a marketing class, and that was the only time I set foot in the business school. And then as I moved out of college, moved into my career, I got into leadership. I got into product creation. I come at marketing from like an anthropological or a messaging or a cultural context. But if I could do it all over again, I wish I would have double majored in anthropology and business. That's all good though, because just exploring business and marketing and messaging on my own, with my businesses and with clients and customers and my own projects and so on, has been so awesome. It's like discovering a new section at the bookstore.
Yeah.
So
that's so funny. My experience was almost the exact opposite in college. I took pretty much every business course you could take, and in my last year as a senior, I took 2 environmental studies courses and was just like, whoa, there's this whole there's this whole degree that involved learning every single type of problem solving that you might need, and I was like, duh, that would have been great. You could learn the business stuff later practically. I don't need to I don't know. So it's funny that we're pretty much in inverse.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's the yin and yang of it all, the impact and the income. Well, maybe, Janet, if you're ready, maybe we could get you up here and learn about the course you're trying to create if you're ready. If not, we can keep wrapping here. The seat is open. Just claim it if you're ready. If you need more time, we'll just wait.
Yeah, I mean, so I know we talked with Janet a little bit before we went online, and so she doesn't have a live page for us to necessarily critique. And as I started thinking, tear down and critique are not necessarily in the vein that I like to support. I like to build up. And and so the teardown is a relative idea. We're just trying to make things better. And so whether we're starting with no sales page and we're just going to talk about, all right, so what it is that what are you building? What are your skill sets? What are your customers historically worried about? The process will be the same. And so we have a lead pages. All right, get it. So we just got a link to the lead pages page with an opt-in. Going to share the lead page with you. Continue to preview. Accept terms of service. I will.
Here, I'm going to bring Janet into the seat here.
Cool.
Howdy.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm an early stage online. I'm an early stage. That's reality. Somebody's got an emergency, but it's not me.
That's me.
Guys. Okay.
I'm going to mute it.
So I'm an early stage course developer. I have developed one course at this point, which is LinkedIn for healthcare professionals. And while I'm a career marketer, it's been much more B2B2C and much more big picture and enterprise. And now I am trying to get to a much more personal one-to-one sale. So while I am still selling to business professionals, it isn't a personal product. It's still used by a person. So at this point, I have most of my marketing has been directly with, be quiet, cat, has been directly with joint venture partners and not necessarily individuals. So what I think I have here is, it actually is a lead page for a guide. It's not even a course. However, my question has to do really with just landing pages in general and how much is too much information, not enough. Should I be using it to sell with, or should I be using it is it just to kind of take them to the next step? How much information is too much? That's really my big question there.
All right. So I think that's a great question. And I think it really depends on a ton of different factors. And so I'd say maybe first step is we just look at what you have on the page, and I'll probably end up just asking you a couple more questions about what it is that you're building and what we're trying to get done. But so first glance, without knowing too much about the backstory, I'm just, okay, so it's get social health, social media for healthcare. Okay. Uses free guide, bonus checklist to do-it-yourself reputation assessment. Reputation matters, protected by knowing what's being said online. Claim your social media platforms that belong to you. Know how to evaluate if you have covered the basics in having complete company profiles. Know what to look for in your sites and your competitions to maximize your online potential. Yes, send me free reputation management guide.
Wow,
okay.
I already hate that.
Yeah. So
it's very salesy and it's not my audience. My audience is the solo or small practice physician.
Okay, solo small practice physician.
Right.
Help me. So have you actually done work with solo and small practice physicians yet, or is this the space that you're moving into?
I have done work as a webinar, delivering webinars. And so it's been a content that basically you send out to a group of people. It isn't one that really gives you a lot of back and forth. So
it's a recorded webinar and you're sending people to that webinar.
Yeah, they may be joining it live and they may have questions at the end, but in many cases, because I'm being hired to do it, I don't even know who's on the webinar. So I'm speaking to a nameless, faceless group of people who are interested in healthcare, social media. I don't know that it's Dr. Smith or Jane Doe.
Who hires you to run that?
There's a whole industry of companies that specialize in webinars on professional topics, in particular in the healthcare field. So there's a lot of tech and HIPAA practice management, and so I'm focusing on social media and healthcare. So that said, now I'm going to take that to the next level, and I am doing myself selling directly to medical societies, health associations to their membership. So I've done presentations for instance, the American Physical Therapy Association, for the North Carolina Medical Society. And so I am getting much closer to my end user, as it were.
Okay. And what are the lessons? Like, what are you delivering in these live webinars or presentations?
So the main issue is the people I'm going to be talking to are folks who recognize that they can't avoid social media anymore, that there is a real need for them to know and understand what it's all about. They may not actively participate, but they've got to get up to square one. If they're in a bigger practice, they probably either have a social media strategist, a marketing person, a marketing agency, or a full-on ad agency, so they really don't have to worry about it. So I'm talking to the guys and gals that know that Facebook and social media and LinkedIn is an impact for their business. Their customers are talking about them, but they probably don't know very much about it.
Okay. How big is that shop? That's like a dentist. That's like dentists are actually kind of savvy because they've had to sell their services for years. So there actually are machines for that. That doesn't mean an individual dentist, however, gets it. So, but literally we are talking hundreds of thousands. So of physicians, and then you look at all the allied health professionals. So physicians, to a degree, nurses, not so much for the marketing, but unless they have a business, but from the LinkedIn perspective. And then you've got mental health professionals, all kinds of people in allied health fields, anybody who's interested in social media and healthcare, but also has to be concerned about HIPAA and privacy compliance. So that's why that's my unique selling proposition is that I am aware of the needs of HIPAA compliance and privacy and how making a mistake in social media could end you with a lawsuit. So that's very interesting. And I'm thinking that is the thing that's being missed. And so don't understand the sales page right now or the opt-in page. Like there's no real drive. But I think that question led us to something that is actually interesting and will be the carrot or the stick, however you want to describe it, that gets someone to actually act. I like the way that you're describing. It almost seems clear who this healthcare professional might be. I think we can get even more clear in that, it's someone who understands the air quote importance of social media, has not spent the time to understand the how to use it practically, knows that they're just going to get passed by the tide if they don't start playing ball. But how do you do it?
Right.
How do you get started? What is step one in this process of learning all these different channels? And I think that this opt-in in some larger strategy would be smart to be that step one. I think that's very possible. I think it's very it just is a logical step as something that you would deliver is like, maybe it's an assessment, maybe it's the social media step one for healthcare professionals. And I think that the angle that you just got to is the HIPAA privacy and compliance that makes it different than every single other step one. And like, let's be clear, there are thousands of step one guides available on the internet.
Exactly. I don't want to teach anybody how to make a post in Facebook. I want to teach them if you're going to post as a healthcare, this is what you need to be aware of in content and engaging your patients online. So
let's talk about some things that let's pick it. So a physician who owns his own small practice in suburb. What state are you coming from?
I'm in North Carolina.
So suburbia, North Carolina, has his own practice, has had it for years. Realizes that it's time to step up. What is that physician worried about when they start tiptoeing into the space?
Yelp. Very simply, they're worried about online reviews, reputation management, because they haven't ever worried about it before, and now suddenly consumers or patients are going out there and reviewing practices online, and there's literally about 50 different websites that they could go to, but the killers are Yelp and Health Grades. So those are the biggies, but certainly now Facebook and Google, all of those can have a huge impact. So aside from managing a reputation from a review standpoint, the second biggie is knowing how to claim your space online. Just the 101 of how to go to the other platforms, make sure you claim it as a business, what kind of information you put there. So that's very tactical, but also essential in this reputation management.
So is reputation management a known term? Because I feel like it's a little feature-y and doesn't drive to the point of what it is that you're going to be delivering and giving. I say that because, is someone, as a physician, do I go online and say, how do I manage my reputation? Or
yes,
do I say, you do? Okay.
Yeah,
that's my immediate thought is I say, how do I avoid bad Yelp reviews? How do I fix a bad Yelp review? How do I reclaim or disqualify the Yelp review that was left by some other doctor 2 towns over? And reputation management sounds less authentic or what I would say in a pinch. And it's not necessarily proprietary, and so that's why I'm not drawn to want to use it with you.
So this is the Bible of that most docs. This is like the #1 reputation guy in the field. Dr. Kevin Poe has written this book on reputation management. So they totally get that term. They absolutely know that protecting your reputation online, they totally get that. Now, from the standpoint of keywords and having content, I said in the book, what you referenced are all the bullet points. Are you worried about your, reviews on Yelp? I could probably just Yelp, and everybody would wake up and pay attention. So those are definitely the bullet points, but everybody's very comfortable with the terminology online reputation.
Okay. So what I have from the last question, what are they worried about? They're worried about a bad Yelp review. They're worried about health grades, Facebook, Google. And so what you're saying is we claim all your locations. We put you as a Facebook business. We get you on Twitter, LinkedIn, and what other social profiles are being delivered there?
So it varies by practice vertical where you would be in social media, but that's one of the courses that I do offer and will be offering is how to know where to be. So like if you're a pediatrician, you're in Facebook, you got to be in Facebook. You could theoretically be in Instagram. Whereas if you are doing cosmetic surgery, the more visual kind of places with patient permission, blah, blah, blah. So it does vary. If you are, dealing with seniors, then there are other platforms that you want to consider. So that's one of the courses that we discuss is where to be online and how to develop content for those platforms.
Awesome. So
basically every social media course you've ever heard of for healthcare.
Tailored to healthcare. Yeah.
And then for physical therapists, for nurses, for pediatricians, for optometrists. I mean, literally, I can take everything. 80% is the same. 20% is the customizable content that I can come back in and be vertical specific or practice specific.
Right.
Which is awesome.
So then my question with this particular lead page, with this landing page, opt-in, right? How do you foresee traffic getting to that page?
So that's a good question. My sales process is hopefully through joint venture partners. So they actually would be carrying the sales banner, but it's a little passive. So right now I have a podcast. So it would be something that I would use the podcast to promote. I have a very active LinkedIn profile and a good number of connections there. I would use it there. But again, it's all going to be through professional places. And I'm really worried that a lot of times the lead pages look really sales skeezy. And I don't like that at all, especially for this audience.
Yeah. And so I'd say that's important. And I think that you have a great tool. I mean, clearly in lead pages, but now it's just a matter of how do we make it feel authentic, actually deliver value, and make it clear that it's coming from a place of good intention. And I think that's going to have to take some repetitions. And then the other question is, there seems to be a lot of different spaces, and I'm trying to categorize them now as I say it out loud. But one is claiming your locations online. The other is avoiding making, dare I say, fatal mistakes on social media. Another is perhaps a best practices, which is a hybrid of the two. And then this other word, which is getting started, right? So getting started assumes that you haven't started. Best practices assumes that maybe you're on it, but you don't know what you're doing. Defending yourself from the fatal mistakes, you're on it, don't know what you're doing. And so I'm wondering if all of those things are somehow trying to get built into it, perhaps there are 4 different opt-ins, because the goal here, as this isn't a sales page yet, or is it? It's an opt-in page, right? I mean, if it's all of those things, that feels like a sales page to me, right? I feel like that is something that has so much value you need to be selling. But smarter than that would be to have some sort of exchange that says, here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you this base amount of knowledge, this getting started kit, which I'm locating in this corner, or this avoiding the deadly pitfalls of social media as a healthcare professional, which sounds kind of okay. And to me, what you do is you make that opt-in valuable, but not like inundating, right? And then you deliver the real value in a well-crafted email autoresponder on the back end, especially if you're going to be doing joint venture type gigs. You're going to get the social proof from whoever is sending you the eyeballs. Whoever's sending you the traffic, right, is going to say, she knows what she's talking about. These guys get it. Check it out, right? Or you can't miss these 5 bullet points or these 5 tips on X, Y, or Z. You get them in, deliver the value, and then continue to, and eventually up, you're selling after having proved your value. And I think that part of it, when I asked about how are eyeballs getting to this page, I'm asking because if it sounds like a lot, it should be worth a lot. And if it's worth a lot, not a lot of people are going to buy, right? Just necessarily. And so to avoid eyeballs getting to the page and no one buying, and then never getting the opportunity to sell again, let's not make it a sales page. Let's make it an opt-in page. And let's be very clear on what the value is and what's going to get delivered. And so I say we would choose one of, we're talking about hypothetical 4 types of opt-in pages, and each JV send them to a different one and see what people are actually caring about. And if you can do one that is just specifically 5 pitfalls for dentists, that is stronger than saying 5 pitfalls for healthcare professionals.
Okay, got it. Yep.
And so
because even I need to niche down even more. Be topic specific. Okay.
And my thought is, depending how you're using LinkedIn, you say you're a power user, so it's 2 buttons on lead pages. This is like a sales for lead pages. 2 buttons: duplicate, change healthcare professionals to dentist, change your PDF, and you have an opt-in page specific to dentists, and you know how to use LinkedIn to get in front of dentists, and you say, hey, dentist, hello, wake up, you need this. See if they bite. Then you go to physical therapists, chiropractors, and it changes every single time and is tweaked every single time. And then I think that has to be the play. You go after the lowest hanging fruit, and it's not a matter of trying to sell so much as see and test what is the actual way that they're communicating internally about the problems that they're facing or the worries that they have. Find that language, deliver the value in their own language, in the words that they use, and then then okay, she got me started. I want the book that she wrote, or I want the course that she's building about the things that actually matter, the true value delivery. But you won't get that opportunity if you're making sales attempts that aren't speaking their language, and you never get in front of them.
Okay, right. No, I definitely, that's a great takeaway. I feel like I've been very broad. I feel like I've been niche to all the online marketers of the world, but within my niche, I've been too broad.
Yeah.
So, because again, also in the course structure, it's very easy to go duplicate course, customize the content, duplicate course, customize the content. So why not have the whole thing niche down? And then that also helps me in right now I am dealing with like any kind of physician in North Carolina, but going forward, it's going to be easier if I go, let's just target the podiatry groups. Let's target the physical therapists and boom, boom, boom. And they're much more likely to buy if I have a course for physical therapists as opposed to a course for healthcare.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. That was very helpful. Thanks.
Cool. And, I'd love to see, I say this and I mean it. I would love to see the retake on the lead page. I would love to see your strategy about getting in front of people from LinkedIn or on these JVs. Like, what are the emails looking like from your partners? Because if they're communicating in a strange way or being real salesy, is that the right way to send someone to an opt-in page? If the course isn't built, there's different ways to communicate. Hey, you need to meet my friend Janet, who's got something perfect for you.
I think what I'm realizing, because this is what I'm an affiliate for a couple people, and they write everything for me. Here's everything you need. Here's your tweet. Here's your language. And so I try to give them something that here's the stuff you can use if you want to write your own, and then you can just forward this message from me, or, you can just rip and duplicate and send it out. And in a couple, in the cases that this week have been, actually, they've just put a very personal 3-sentence note. Hey, this is a gal I know. She's really awesome. She's got this course. You should check it out. And then they forwarded my explanation of what I was doing. So cool. All right. Well, Tony, I'm going to track you down in LinkedIn because it is what I do. And I assume this is your Twitter handle at Tony Ubo. All right, awesome. Well, look for me to connect with you. I'm going to have a busy weekend doing a lot of different things, but you will hear back from me with an appreciation for your feedback. Thanks. And Chris, always a pleasure.
Of course.
Good to see you, Janet.
All right, you guys have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Be well.
Tony, I was wondering if we could recap some of that. What would you say are the main bullet points for people who are looking for action steps or the generals there?
Well, a couple things stood out as we went through it. One is that the idea was we were going to look at a sales page, but the reality is that it's always so much more than just a sales page. It's a whole process. It's a workflow. And a question I think is really important for Janet and for everyone is, how are people's eyeballs getting to the page that you then are trying to sell them from? And it's a long form narrative, and if you rush to a sale, it's noticeable and people feel it. And Janet's concern was she doesn't want to sound salesy and she doesn't want to have it look really marketer-y. And so to me, the response is, so it's a matter then of getting really clear on who it is that you're talking to and finding the language that they use to describe the problems they have, the fears they have, their concerns, their goals or aspirations. So if you're going to flip it from negatives, you can go positive, their goals, aspiration, dreams, and learn the language that they're using to say those things. And when you speak the language that they're already using in their head, it feels a lot more homey and a lot more comfortable. The other thing that we got to was, the bigger the value you're looking to deliver on a single page, necessarily the more expensive it should be. I don't want anyone in LifterLMS and in e-learning to say, I'm delivering a ton of value and it's going to cost you a very little bit, because there's a disconnect. And that's a red flag, whether or not we want to admit it, right? So if you're delivering high value, it should have a high actual cost. With high cost comes low conversions. Just, it has to be. So my question was, well, if that's the case, if you have all this value, the smart play is to try and get people into your community in some way or another. That's a list building maneuver. Let's get people onto our mailing list so she can tell the stories she wants to end up selling this super high value course that she's building. And I would say that in conclusion, that is the question is, do you have people on your mailing list? Are they already on your mailing list? If they are, perhaps it's okay to go right into, here's the sales page for the product that we're launching. If not, let's get them onto a mailing list so you can get back in front of them and continue in different ways to tell the story of how your product is going to solve their problems or help them reach the goal future that they have.
That's really awesome. That's really cool. I want to kind of lay out a summary of something else I heard during that too, which you did a great job identifying, was the who are we talking to here? Cool. The problem of, it's a common issue of being one level too high in your niche or your target market, your customer segment. And healthcare professionals is like, you could easily go down to the dentist, the chiropractor, the podiatrist, whatever. And I found that really fascinating because if you look at a system like LifterLMS, you can duplicate courses and stuff, but as people become more advanced marketers, they may want to do some fancier things and like duplicate lead pages, sending traffic from different sources to different offers, A/B testing, and build that email list and then send them into the LMS. So like LifterLMS has this thing where there's a view of the course sales page that says one thing, but after someone pays and enrolls, it says something else. So this side is sales focused, and then after they're inside, you can have members only content and then dive into the lessons. But I found that really fascinating, and also just wanted to identify the big opportunity there for people, where if you find something that works at kind of the mid-level for healthcare professionals, you may have a repeatable system that you can, take across all the different verticals in there. And it could be anything, like from outdoor sports. Okay, well, if it worked for rock climbing, maybe it's going to work for kayaking.
Right.
I just found that really fascinating, and just the business opportunity there is really huge. It's all going to come down to your unique value proposition, though.
And I think a large portion of that, and something that it wasn't said explicitly, was that the three of us particularly were coming to this problem set with a framework of marketing. Right. And we're saying, all right, so in this world of marketing and in this world of learning best practices on social media, we're going to talk to healthcare. And, it's success. We've narrowed down, we've niched, we found the market. And it's like, no, not even close. That is in healthcare, nurse, doctor, huge difference, same space, huge difference. Right. And so to narrow down, and then I love how you said a moment ago, you can go from the higher to the lower. And I would say potentially, once you do the thought activity, where am I going to start? You can go from lower to higher. So you do here's what dentists need because I know dentistry, or because I know how to cut bonsai trees and I'm the bonsai, what is the level above it? And where can I find people, knowing that we've already won in these really small battlegrounds or super small niches? What's the step above it that connects all those dots and get all those people involved? And so the beauty is that there's such a clean product that you guys have that allows for that level of value delivery and testing and tweaking and building courses quickly to see if people are on board and engaged. And so what I would say is a cool point is that, let's say Janet went out and aggressively went after healthcare and was like, well, what's happening here? Why isn't this working? And then the light bulb goes off. Well, we're starting too high. Healthcare, there's so many different types. It wouldn't take a lot to say, I'm going to change it from healthcare down to chiropractors, and not chiropractors, North Carolina's chiropractors, and go super specific, super niche, solve the problems that those people are facing. And I think that's a beauty of the tool.
Cool. Well, I just also want to throw out there that another thing that I picked up on was looking at the just the need to have a framework, like to have the beginner's mind. So like you said, we're marketers coming in on top of like an industry, but instead, let's put ourselves, when we approach our sales page, in the shoes of the of our customer, of our prospect.
And the light bulb moment in that space was, we were talking social media, healthcare. The main issue is you can't avoid. You need to learn and understand. And I was like, okay, nothing here is popping. Nothing here is popping. And then she said, and they're worried about making mistakes that will cause major problems with HIPAA and privacy compliance. And it was like, boom, that is the angle. That is the thing that's going to make this totally different, and actually have a pull on like the heart and the mind of the customer, because that's an actual real problem. Perfect. I love that you're still into this, Janet. But that's the angle to me, because like, I'm a business owner, I'm a doctor. Worse than not knowing what to do is the fear of making a mistake that takes all the work that you've done, the business you've built, the time you've spent to become the best in the area, and it just ruins it because you tweeted a picture of your client, or I don't even know what's illegal as a doctor. But that is a real problem, and that's going to speak to the audience.
Let me ask you a question on that, Tony. When you guys were talking about that earlier, I wanted to ask, like, how do we know if it's better to go after pain or pleasure? We're talking about the pain of compliance or the pleasure. I mean, I've heard in some circles that pain's always better, but there's also ethical issues there, and but it's pain. Getting people out of pain is also a good opportunity. So how do we decide, like in Janet's example, whether or not we want to go after avoiding the pain of non-compliance or going after the pleasure of like an amazing social media presence? Like, how do we pick our focus?
This, I hope, doesn't sound like a cop-out, but I would say the answer is to test. And we're given these really incredible tools that allow us to try things quickly. And so I'd say, rather than spend 2 weeks, deliberating and thinking, I would say let's
go live.
Test. Test it. And it's an easier question when you know who you are and you know the brand that you're trying to build. I think that there are people that will argue that loss aversion is a more powerful mover than gaining, and so the quick answer is go after the downfall. But speaking of me, we were going to do a sales page teardown, which is common vernacular, and I'm just like, I'm not trying to have anyone think that I'm a terror downer. I'm a builder upper. I want to help. I want to support. I want to improve things rather than destroy. And so I'd say the answer is to test, and not to take anyone's really like word for it, and just go out there and figure it out yourself.
That's awesome. Well, if you've made it this far, if you're watching the replay or you're still here live, I wanted to go over a rubric, some action steps for you to take. And this is a framework that you can use for any communication, whether it's your online course sales page or you're even just sending an email, a marketing email. And I want to get your input on this framework, Tony. And this is something that I learned from a marketer named Eben Pagan a long time ago. But I like, sometimes, especially if you're new to marketing and sales messaging, it's good to have just like a framework. There's a super old one I'll use that I'm just going to say first before I get into a more advanced one. But it comes from a marketer in Australia named John Carlton, which is, in every communication, whether it's a course sales page or a marketing email, just answer these 3 bullet points. Here's what I got, here's what it'll do for you, and here's what I'd like you to do next. So that's essentially what it is, what are the benefits, and the call to action. That's a simple framework that I've used so much. Like when I know I need to write an email or write a course description or somehow add value to a conversation, I use that framework. A more advanced one is this one I was mentioning by a gentleman named Evan Pagan is the who, why, what if, and action steps framework. So I noticed with Janet, we used a lot of who, like let's drill down, and we're having conversations about like, okay, we need to niche down, and then maybe we can niche up, or we can go to adjacent market to the side. So especially in this age of information overload, the who is really important. If you don't nail that right out of the gate in the first 2 seconds of seeing the lead page or the LifterLMS course page or whatever, you're gonna lose people. Because if it's not for me, I don't know, I'm out of here. Or if I'm not sure, I'm out of there. Why is it important? Like we're talking about pain and pleasure, HIPAA compliance. That why, like, and not too many whys, maybe just 3 benefits or so, the 3 biggest before you get into the nuance. I'm just throwing that idea out there. That why also, is it a solution or are you offering a suggestion? Because people want proven methods. They want things that really solve things and aren't just necessarily good ideas. The what if is like for a different type of person who's like, well, what if I, follow these instructions? What if I take this course? What if I don't? So some people like to hear that logic of like, if you take this course, X. If you don't take this course, you might be missing out on whatever. And then the action steps kind of come at the end. That's a call to action, like take this course, you won't be disappointed. I have a guarantee policy. Or if you're not ready to take this course, go try this, and this, and come back when you're ready. So just to recap, those are 2 separate frameworks. The first one is, here's what I got, here's what it'll do for you, here's what I'd like you to do next. And the second one is actually appealing to different learning and communication styles, which is the who, why, what if, and action steps framework. So if you need a model to write your course description or your sales page, there's one. But I'd love to jam with you on that, Tony. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think John Carlton's, in your example, sounds a little bit like an email that'll get someone going to a sales page. That's not a sales page to me. It's not. Yeah. It's too light. Exactly. I think it in high level, yes, that works on most everything that you're going to try and drive someone to make a decision. Yes, here's what I got. Here's what it'll do. And do this if you want it, or if you want to learn about it. Cool. I think that even Evan Pagan is closer to what I would say is strong. And I would be interested to see how he delivers that in value, or in depth. And I would say the long and short is going to be, on a sales page, lead with a promise or some sort of a, here's what's going to happen on the rest of this page, or here's what's going to happen in your life, or do you want this? It's a reality. It can happen. And I think you set the stage with a promise. You explain why that promise is important. And you talk about things that your customer is already experiencing or has experienced. And then you say there's a solution, and there's a way to fix those pains, or there's a way to attain that goal that you're looking for. Here's what it is. It's this product I built, is this course that we have. And then it's a matter of like, don't take my word for it. Here's some fact checks on me or my experience or on the ways that we've built this product. And then I like the what, right? And so the whats are, what is the course? And beyond that, it's, because there's 2 ways to me to take what. It's like, well, the course is 4 modules of 6 lessons per module. And that's in some ways interesting. But like when you recommend book to me, do I say, well, Chris, how many chapters are in that book? How many pages are in the book? No, right? And so, there's whats that are, to me, non-sequential, non-important, non-movers, right? But are in some ways relevant. And so what I would say is that the key, and use any method that you want, The key is on a sales page, you need to make it clear what life looks like before your product, what life looks like after the product. And you want to say, if you're talking about the features, if you want to talk about lesson one exists, and the key phrase is so that these outcomes become a part of your reality, so that this version of the future is possible, so that your audience actually is engaged. So to talk about Lifter LMS, it's like, it doesn't matter to me that you have a built-in email feature. That is not interesting to the majority of your customers. What is interesting is that there are a lot of ways to try and teach people things online. There's a lot of ways to build information products. The issue historically is that when people buy it, they don't learn it, or they don't move through it. And if that's something that is concerning to one of your customers, which it is, you need to be able to communicate that you've built something into what you're selling that allows them to improve the chances of customers actually ingesting the information, which is hugely important when you're, what did you say? You said profit or
income or impact.
Income
change
or
the
income
world and
impact.
build a business.
If your game is impact, your audience needs to consume your material. And so to me, it's less important that you have an email built-in email trigger system, so much as you have a safety net to make sure none of your audience or students fall off of your balance beam. You have a way to make sure people are consistently engaged and excited about learning the material. And it's not so much a what in the sense of here are the features, but here are the benefits. And so that has to do with the storytelling. And a sales page, to me, if it does anything, it tells a story of what the future could look like. And that's the what if that you mentioned. What if this is true? What if the product I'm trying to sell you is actually able to do what it is that I promise it will? What does your world look like? And I think any sales page that does a good job creating a vision of the future that someone can see, taste, feel, hear, that sales page is going to convert.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really good stuff. Cool. Well, maybe Tony, could you go ahead?
I was going to say we got to do this again.
Yeah, we should.
We're definitely gonna have to do this again.
Yeah, and Janet, we want you to come back, and we want to see what's happening and what's working, and what you took away and what really helped you. Tony, tell us about you, where people can find you, what you're all about.
Yeah, perfect. So find me. It says Tony Ubertaccio on the video feed, or it should, I think. Type that into your browser, throw a .com at the end, and that's where I live on the internet. Tony Ubo on Twitter, Instagram, and I'm in the process. I want to build a community of people that are truly committed to changing the world in some small way or in a big way. And what I want to do is support them with sound business and self-talk practices that are going to be vital to actually moving the dial and making the impact that people are looking to do. So if you're into changing the world, helping the world, I please connect with me on Twitter or on my website, and I look forward to hearing your story.
That's awesome. Well, I'm Chris Badgett. I'm one of the co-founders of LifterLMS, which is a tool for creating, selling, and protecting engaging online courses. And you can find out more about that at LifterLMS.com. I'm also an education entrepreneur myself. I do projects with other people and solo where I create and sell my own courses. So it's just my passion in life is about empowering the education entrepreneur with good wisdom and tools. So you can find me over at LifterLMS. We also have a podcast called LMScast.com. That's LMScast.com, which I co-host with my business partner, Joshua Millage. And it's a great show where we do a deep dive onto a lot of the problems and opportunities that face the education entrepreneurs out there. We're thinking about maybe moving that LMS Cast podcast over to Blab, but we'll see. But thank you, everyone, so much for coming and tuning in today. And we'll see you on the next one.
Love it. Be well.
Cool.